Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Another weekend is here. Sports IQ, Larry Smith, glad you're here with us. We've got a couple of great guests, as always. Every guest is great on the show. In just a couple of minutes, we'll break down the NFL draft with Aryton Ostly of Locked In Sports, talking about kind of what he saw in round one, some of the surprises, perhaps. We'll get his take on that. We'll talk with producer Tony and get his thoughts as well later on in the show. He is chomping at the bit to talk about what happened Thursday night in round one in Pittsburgh. And then a bit later, we're talking NHL. Rachel Lenzi rejoining us, talking Buffalo Sabres. One of the great stories of this 2025-26 season. They get the win last night on the road there in Boston. And so we'll talk about the Sabres as they try to advance here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But right now, a little NFL draft news as we get started. Of course, the draft getting underway in Pittsburgh. No one's surprised that Indiana's Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza going overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. How many times have the Raiders picked overall, you ask? Well, surprisingly, only twice. This year and in 2007, you may recall, they took Jamarcus Russell, the quarterback out of LSU, with the number one pick. Did not turn out well for the Raiders. Played only 3 seasons, 7 wins, 18 losses, 23 interceptions, 18 touchdowns. Raiders fans hoping that Mendoza does way better than that. So has any team never had the first overall pick? I'm glad you asked. 3 teams have never selected number 1 overall. Seattle, Baltimore, and Denver. And you may say, wait a minute, John Elway, in 1982. Well, yeah, but as you recall, as we told you the other day, it was the Colts, Baltimore Colts, not the Denver Broncos, who took Elway number 1 overall. And then after he refused to play for the Colts, they traded him to Denver. The highest pick the Broncos have ever had was when they took Von Miller, number 2 overall, back in 2011. We all know Jeremiah Love was going in the first round. Cardinals taking him number 3 overall. When his teammate at Notre Dame, Jadarian Price, was taken by the Seahawks with the final pick of the first round, Notre Dame had another record to add to their total. Love and Price becoming the first running back tandem from the same school to both be taken in the first round in the NFL draft. Pretty cool. The draft is a process for sure. The NFL trying to speed up that process. The first round of the draft actually used to take between 6 and 7 hours to complete. In fact, the longest first round ever goes back to 1964 when it took a staggering 8+ hours to complete a first round that included only 14 picks. So be thankful you're following this now and not back then. This year, by the way, the first round Thursday night taking a little more than 3 hours to finish, start to finish. Still wasn't the quickest first round ever. That goes to 1972, just 2 hours to complete, a total of 26 picks taken. Did every team make a selection in round 1? The answer is no. 7 teams did not have a first round selection due to trades. The 7 sitting out this year: Jacksonville, the Falcons, Colts, Broncos, Packers, and Bengals, as well as Buffalo. The Bills made 3 separate deals to get out of the first round and acquire some other draft capital to restock their roster. Now, while that makes the Bills the wheeler-dealer of this draft, they still are nowhere near the most famous wheeler deal of all time in NFL draft history. That belongs to Jimmy Johnson, who made 51 total trades during his 5-year tenure as Dallas Cowboys head coach. That was more than the rest of the NFL combined during that stretch. While many involved draft picks, he frequently traded within the first round or used picks acquired in the 1989 Herschel Walker trade to make multiple first-round selections. All right, let's dig into this NFL draft right now. Aryton Ostly joining us once again with Locked On Sports. Aryton, good to see you. Let's just start at the top and let's get this out of the way. Fernando Mendoza, if you don't like this kid by now or even love this kid, I don't know what's wrong with you. What he's done in the past 12 months really almost defies logic. Heisman Trophy winner, Big Ten champion, national champion for Indiana, of all teams. Number 1 pick. And, I think most kids would feel the pressure and feel the need to be there on stage as number 1 overall pick. He said, no, I'm going to be here with my mom, my family. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, you can't do anything but love the guy from seeing that. Whereas, how much family means to him. We've heard about it through a lot of this journey for him, getting to win the Heisman, winning the national championship, and it's just, yeah, if you didn't like him before, somehow you found a way to not like him before, you got to love him now.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get to the real now. He's there. He's in Las Vegas. He's the quarterback of the future, maybe now. What does he need to do to get up to speed to the pro game and get on the field with the Raiders?
I think a lot of the adjustment would be just what the Raiders are going to run with Clint Kubiak versus what he was doing at Indiana. At Indiana, there's a lot of shotgun RPO, a lot of working the edges of the field. And with Clint Kubiak, what we saw, what he was doing in New Orleans and also in Seattle, it's a little more under center, a little more play action, which can just take some time. So I think the fact they brought in Kirk Cousins is just kind of going to alleviate that pressure for Mendoza to get up to speed very quickly. I think there's a lot of concern league wide that Mendoza will take a lot of time to get up to speed, but it just eases that pressure. Is for a franchise that's desperately needed a franchise quarterback for a while here, it's just kind of makes it a little bit easier for him to just, take your time, get your reps under you, get comfortable.
Yeah. Personally, I don't know how you feel about this. I love when a team drafts a quarterback of the future and they don't force him to be the quarterback of the now. And I go back to, this is an example, the late Steve McNair that sat for an entire year and just watched with the then Houston Oilers. And of course, went on to a fantastic career, took the team to a Super Bowl, was, I think, MVP of the league one year. But I think that time, it's just, will he sit the entire year? Will Cousins be QB1 on week one? Probably. Will Mendoza sit the entire year? Probably not. But I love the fact that they have that plan in place to give him the time to develop and to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's something where you can give him, just ease the pressure off of, because there's so much pressure with these young quarterbacks coming in nowadays, where it's like there's expectation where if you're a first round quarterback, you're expected to start in the first year. We're expected to have, know if you're the guy or not by like week 8. So it's it's just if we could take a little bit slower. And again, we see some of those first round quarterbacks that didn't work out in their initial stop, and then they end up somewhere else. And because they've had that time to develop and because they've had that time to understand the NFL, then they succeed.
Yeah. Look at Darnold Sam up in Seattle is one of those examples. You're exactly right. We always look for a run on position. If one team picks somebody, here come the rest of them. How about a run on a school? Ohio State, 4 picks in the top 7. It's just insane.
Yeah, and I think if you would have asked anybody, who's going to be the first Ohio State player off the board, I don't think anyone would have said Carnell Tate. That was the thing that shocked me, was everybody probably, anyone would have said, Arvell Reese. If not Arvell Reese, okay, maybe Sonny Styles, but Carnell Tate over both of them was a huge surprise in the moment, at least. In hindsight, it makes a little bit more sense, but in the moment, oh my gosh. I was like, I had to double check. I was like, are we sure? Okay.
Exactly. How about Ohio State becoming wide receiver U? Smith and Jigma, of course, Harrison Jr. It has just been and soon Jeremiah Smith is going to join that list as well. It's the place to go for top level wide receivers.
Yeah, Brian Hartline for years knew what he was doing. He's out of the building for this coming year, so we'll see. Yeah. We'll see if that continues what he said. But he is just one of those, you just know what you're going to get from a Brian Hartline coached wide receiver. So
Jeremiah Love going early, his teammate going late in the first round. Any surprises there with the 2 Notre Dame running backs?
I did not expect Arizona to go that route after bringing Algier out of in free agency, and then also Trey Benson in the building, James Conner in the building. It was a little bit interesting for fit-wise, but if you look at it overall, Love, in my opinion, was the best offensive weapon in the class, offensive player in the class, regardless of position. So you can't fault a team for taking the best offensive player in a draft class. The fit is a little interesting considering the other needs on the roster. I just see the right side of that offensive line, and I get a little nervous, especially with some of the players that are on the board at that point. But hey, they went with that. And when it comes to Seattle taking Jadarian Price at the very end of the first round, I think this is a situation where Seattle looked at this running back class, they looked at their limited draft resources and said, you know what, let's just get a guy now, because we don't want to be, waiting for Zach Charbonnet to come back from injury and really have a lacking room and be like, oh, no, we'll get back to it in the second or third rounds when maybe they don't have the same confidence. Price is a guy who obviously was Love's, second. He was his Robin to Love's Batman when they were at Notre Dame. So there are some concerns about how much of a load he can shoulder with, being a primary running back. But in the situation where, hey, you could just kind of hold it down once Charbonnet's back from injury, work you into a rotation, it makes sense.
Yeah. Maybe fresher legs, maybe, because he didn't have so many reps in college. It's, running backs do have a shelf life. We know that. In New York, it's the first draft for John Harbaugh after many, many years in Baltimore. So really a kind of a new world for both, not only for the Giants, but for Harbaugh. I mean, coming into a team with a lot of needs and hasn't had a lot of success lately. I guess not a surprise after they decided Dexter Lawrence was not going to be a part of their future, that they went defense there early on.
Yeah, it was, I think, a nice one for them where they kind of looked around and went, okay, Arvell Reese is still available at number 5. Okay, yeah, why not? Because for me, he's, Jeremiah Love was my best offensive player. Arvell Reese was my best player overall, regardless of position. So when you're getting the best player, most people would agree the best player, best talent at 5 overall, that's a pretty good first draft. So I think, and you look at it where it's like, yes, obviously missing Dexter Lawrence is going to be huge given what he did to the defense. But you just look at that, it's like, okay, on third down, there's Abdul Carter, Arvell Reese, Brian Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeau. Like, good luck. I would be terrified to drop back on 3rd and 8 against that defense. Oh my goodness. So you gotta, obviously losing Lawrence is a big caveat here, but you have to be excited about what that team could look like on 3rd down. Like that's going to be a fun pass rush.
Yeah, and fun to see again what Harbaugh's going to do here in year 1 as he reshapes this franchise. All the success that he had in Baltimore. Talking to Aryton Ostly of Locked On Sports right now as we recap the first round of the NFL draft. You were saying right before we came on that after having a night to sleep on it, some of the surprises made more sense. What's something that kind of sticks out to you about this first round?
Honestly, the one that got me was some of the tackles, where they ended up, the order in which they went. So Fano going at 9 made a lot of sense and if you're Cleveland, you have to be excited about that. Like, hey, we traded down out of 6 to 9, picked up some more draft capital, and got probably, for what most people agree, the best offensive lineman in the class. Just overall, he's got a great high floor with Spencer Fano. So Fano going first among the offensive linemen at 9, and then Maui Noah going 10th to the Giants, that made some sense. Proctor going at 12 to the Dolphins was a little interesting at first because I was like, I could have seen them going in a different direction. There are some concerns about Proctor given his outlier size. But then the more you think about it, I was like, waking up, it's like, okay, they've got kind of an undersized center in Aaron Brewer and kind of employing that almost the way the Eagles were a few years ago when they had Jason Kelce, where they're like, this guy is a fantastic center. He's a little undersized though, so let's bulk up at the guard positions. And so then it's like, okay, Caden Proctor is your right guard in year 1, and then potentially a successor to Austin Jackson at right tackle. Okay, that makes more sense. Versus that's a bit of a reach for a guy who has leverage and consistency concerns. Okay, makes more sense. With the Lions taking Blake Miller at 17 out of Clemson, that was one where in the moment I was like, oh, okay. So he was definitely going to be a right tackle. He was there. The Lions were circled as potentially a landing spot for Monroe Freeling out of Georgia, just because Freeling was one of the few guys in this top group that specifically played on the left side. So that would mean Penei Sewell could stay on the right, and then that would just kind of make more sense going forward. But there was a lot of projection with Monroe Freeling. He's very, very athletic, one of the highest ceilings in this class. But where he is right now will need a little bit of work. A lot of folks expected him to go back to school and come out next year and be a top 10 pick. So getting Blake Miller, a guy who is as steady as it comes at the position, I think that the line was he never missed a snap in 4 years. He missed 1 practice because of a broken wrist, and that's it. Wow. So if the Lions just want a steady presence on the offensive line, it may necessitate Penei Sewell moving to left tackle. I think for them, they're like, you know what? Taylor Decker's not in the building. Let's get something steady. Let's hit a double. We don't need to try to swing for a home run and miss. This is a team that we want to contend.
Yeah. And they have the pieces there. Like you said, it's not like they're the Detroit of old. This is a team that is now in contention in December. We haven't seen that before Coach Campbell came in. One of the surprises for me, and really dying to get your thoughts, was Ty Simpson going 13th to the LA Rams. We know this is not a strong quarterback draft. Obviously, Simpson did some things to kind of get himself in the conversation. Later in the first round, I thought, maybe somebody trades down and makes some deals to get him. If you're a team like the Rams looking for your quarterback of the future, I did not see them taking him that early.
I did not either. This was a big surprise for me. I think this feels, and I'm guilty of trying to do how do I say, body language like play by play when I'm seeing the press conference afterward with Sean McVay and Les Snead. This feels like a Les Snead pick more than a Sean McVay pick. But it's something where Ty Simpson showed. It makes some sense in that Ty Simpson showed flashes during this past season where I was like, is he quarterback one? Like that Vanderbilt tape is some of the best of the class. Like he put on some good tape there where you're like, this is really good. This guy could be quarterback two. And then, or even quarterback one if Mendoza maybe fell off down the stretch, which obviously he didn't. But Simpson is a guy where the concern is just experience. So having him sit behind Matthew Stafford makes some sense where it's like, okay, we can, leave him be there. But it's just a different style of quarterback than Matthew Stafford. He's a little bit smaller. He's not quite, Matthew Stafford is one of the strongest arms in the NFL. So it was interesting because it'll be a different style than what Sean McVay's operated with and had a lot of success with recently. So that was one where it was, but also I can understand the Rams thinking to themselves, you know what, we plan to be in contention for a while. And when we have this gift of a pick that we got from Atlanta, that's a top 15, we should just take our quarterback now rather than try to spend extra draft capital later to in future years to try to swing for a guy and risk extra assets, which they seem to do all the time, but maybe not maybe not be forced to do it for quarterback. So that was one where I'm still a little bit like I'm trying to rationalize it, but I still am just surprised by that. It shows me at least that the Rams think they are very firmly in contention, so they don't need to get a guy that's going to be like contributing in round one to round out the roster. They're like, no, I think we're good. We'll just take a guy to stash.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. And it sounds like too, by the way, and give the Rams credit. This is where teams. It's funny that everyone, and I know you do this as well. Try to go through and pontificate and figure out who's going to go where. And here's my mock first round. You never really know because no GM's going to show their cards before the draft because they don't want anyone else to know what they're doing. And this is an example of that.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to play it close to the chest. I think obviously the Cardinals were an example where they were making some noise about Jeremiah Love after they made noise about Arvell Reese, after they made noise about, they just kept being like, we love this guy, and then ended up being one of the guys they mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. Is this something too with Ty Simpson where sometimes what you do during a season really does mean something? I mean, you go to the combine and you measure, and all of a sudden, those numbers don't add up to the prototypical first round quarterback, let's say. But for Simpson, like you said, you've mentioned, he had the tape out there already of what he had done during the season. And that was enough to say, no, we've seen him in real time enough to think that he's the guy that can do what we need to do moving forward.
Yeah, I think this is one where you're like, okay, he checked enough of the boxes physically to be like, okay, this is going to be all right. But what we saw from this is a big one where like you see the flashes on tape and you're like, you know what? This is it. This is really good.
Yeah. Want to get your thoughts on Ruben Bain, the edge out of Miami, dropping to the Bucks with pick 15. You mentioned as we got started here, that was a surprise for you.
Yeah, you just see a guy, again, this is one of those ones where the tape was just, you look at him, you're like, this is a guy who's just all power. He doesn't need a long runway to generate power and move people off the ball. But I think it's something where you look at the first round and the teams ahead of them that are basically like, you know what? That outlier arm length that was just so short, I think it just kind of scared some teams away. And by the time you get out of the top 10, it's like, okay, you could see more teams being like, we could do this. You could see, the Rams were one where it's like, okay, you could kind of see that. Add another pass rush to the group. Why not? You look at the Ravens, it was one where I didn't think they'd go that route, but this is a perfect outcome, I think, for the Buccaneers, where it's like you got a guy who is versatile with Bain, who can probably kick inside thanks to that power. Kind of that would alleviate some of the length concerns on those downs where he's kicking inside. But he's just a good football player. You don't accidentally, lead the FBS in pressures without having some good talent. So this is one where it's like, yeah, you worried about the arm length, but besides that, the tape is spectacular. It's what you want out of this guy.
Yeah, still a lot of picks to go. Rounds 2 and 3 today, tomorrow 4 through 7. I won't ask you to try to crystal ball all of it, but what do you expect here in these next 20, 30 picks, second and third round? What are you looking for here on Friday night?
I'm really curious with a lot of the defensive backs that didn't make it into round one. I think one of the biggest stories is Jermod McCoy dropping. He was one where, we've seen this happen a couple times with a cornerback with an injury. There's just some questions about what it's going to look like. McCoy was he missed his whole 2025 season, but his 2024 tape was some of the best. You look at that guy and you go, that's a top 15 pick at worst from what he did in 2024, but that's all he did at Tennessee. So where does he land? Where does his teammate Colton Hood land? You look at one of the safeties, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, who was a top 25 guy in my opinion, and in a deeper safety class. How far does he fall? And then also you look at some of the extra, some of these edge rushers. A lot of it's just question marks on like where these guys on defense are going to go. You got TJ Parker still available. Malachi Lawrence went earlier than a lot of people expected, but with the connection with Dallas's one of their assistant coaches coached him at UCF, that makes a little bit more sense. Then you see Zion Young out of Missouri. So just a lot of where are these defenders going to land? And then there's still a couple wide receivers that could be. I look at Denzel Boston, like who wouldn't want like a big bodied power slot or a guy who could just run a dig route for you easily with good contested catch body control. There's a lot of really good players still on the board, mostly on defense. And I'm curious where they're going to fit. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's always fun to talk with you and get your insights on this. I know it's a big time for you, so get your workout in, get your lunch in, get ready to go again for tonight and for this weekend. And man, great to talk with you again. Enjoy the weekend and look forward to our next conversation.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. I always appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Aryton Ostly joining us once again from Locked On Sports, recapping the first round of the NFL Draft, which continues Friday night in rounds 2 and 3. And then we'll wrap up with day 3 from Pittsburgh on Saturday. Okay, more to come here on the Sports IQ after this.
Those old golf clubs sitting in your garage right now, there's a good chance they're worth real money. That driver you replaced, those irons you upgraded, even that putter collecting dust. Golf Roots lets you trade them in for cash or credit toward your next set. And right now, Sports IQ listeners get exclusive offers. Take $20 off any order over $100 with code SIQSALE or get a 15% bonus on your trade-in value with code SIQ TRADE-IN. That means the clubs in your garage could be worth even more. Golf Roots is on a mission to make golf more accessible, offering high-quality, pre-owned name brand clubs for every skill level. And if you're just starting out, the Just the Roots starter set is one of the most affordable ways to begin, with full trade-in credit when you're ready to upgrade. So don't let your old gear sit there losing value. Go to golfroots.com and see how you can start or upgrade your golf journey today. Use code SIQSALE for $20 off or SIQ TRADE-IN for 15% extra when you trade in your old clubs. That's golfroots.com. Golf Roots. Upgrade smarter.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45 non-tobacco user, $1 million of coverage is only $75 per month, level for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco user can buy $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rates for 20 years. And if you're a smoker, we have great rates for you as well. At the Term Lifeline, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. So if you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call right now for a free quote.
Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes are based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting exam required to qualify.
Call 855-826-7932. 855-826-7932. That's 855-826-7932.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Some other news now. We'll get back to a little more NFL draft talk with producer Tony in just a bit. Great to have Aryton on the show as, again, this NFL draft continues here later on Friday night. A lot of news out of the Bluegrass heading into the weekend. University of Kentucky Athletic Director Mitch Barnhart announced earlier this spring he was going to retire here this summer and step into a role as kind of an advisor, if you will, for this other entity. It was a job kind of created. It's very similar to what you may recall John Calipari, the longtime basketball coach, when he was in Lexington. That he had there's this piece in his contract that he could choose to leave coaching and go into this kind of ambassador role with the university for like $1 million a year. Well, it's a similar thing, it sounds like, for Mitch Barnhart, and it's come under scrutiny, including the governor of Kentucky, Andy Beshear, going to social media, criticizing this because it was a job paying him more than $900,000 a year that had no job description. There was no like, what would you do for this $900,000? Well, some of the backlash, I guess, it forced Barnhart to rethink this, and he is now not going to take this role. He's still going to retire in June. He's had an amazing run, one of the longest tenured athletic directors in the country. The university has done amazing things in a number of sports. Obviously, the 2012 NCAA basketball championship. Football had a great run under Mark Stoops until the past couple of years. And a school not always known for football. Track and field has been outstanding. Of course, volleyball, a national championship. Women's basketball has been strong. So he's done a lot of things, built facilities, those kinds of things. But Barnhart will not be taking this sweet retirement job, paying him almost $1 million. That's not going to happen for Kentucky. Meanwhile, for Louisville, they lock up their football coach for a number of years, Jeff Brom, the former Louisville quarterback in his playing days, signing an 8-year extension that keeps him in town through the 2033 season. It's a deal that will pay Brom an average of $8 million a year, which that may be eye-popping, but hold on to your socks, because that $8 million a year makes him only the 6th highest paid coach in the ACC. Of course, Dabo Swinney leading that with an 8-figure salary every year. But Jeff Brom turned down overtures from Penn State, among others, at the end of last season. Several months working on this deal. They got it done. He's going to be there through 2023. Back to the NFL draft. Interesting. We've talked about the Big Ten and how the tide has kind of changed right now. The Big Ten, 3 different teams winning national championships over the last 3 years, including, of course, surprising of all, Indiana this past year, Heisman Trophy winner. Well, the Big Ten also had the most selections in the first round Thursday night. 10 picks coming from the Big Ten Conference, only 7 from the SEC. Compare that to the Southeastern Conference having 15 first-rounders in 2025. By the way, these two, it's much more diverse across the board. These two conferences combining for 17 picks this year. 2025, they combined for 26 of the 32 first-round picks. So again, things changing right now in college sports overall. NBA, the Hawks go up 2-1 on the Knicks with a win at home Thursday night. Minnesota also, the 6th seed, up on Denver 2-1. They get the win in the Twin Cities. 6 players in double figures in that one. Toronto winning Game 3 over the Cavaliers, but Cleveland still up 2-1 in that series in the NBA. NHL, Buffalo defeating Boston 3-1. The Sabres now up 2-1 in that series. Again, Rachel Lenzi joining us here in a couple of minutes with producer Tony. Carolina over Ottawa 2-1. So the Hurricanes now 3-0, 1 game away from a sweep. Same deal for Colorado. The Avalanche 4-2 over LA. They're up 3-0 in that. Friday night, all 3 series tied at 1. Tampa Bay at Montreal. Utah hosting the Golden Knights. And Edmonton is on the road at Anaheim. Jim Furyk is going to be named the Ryder Cup captain for 2027, according to the Associated Press. The PGA Tour, PGA of America, has not announced this just yet. He was a captain back in 2018, you may recall, and that was a disaster. The U.S. surrendered a loss by 7 points, 3rd worst loss ever in Ryder Cup play. Of course, this was a position that Tiger Woods was talked about, possibly would take, was in the contention. There were some conversations until his recent incident with the alleged DUI and rolling over his SUV, and so he is now taking himself out of the running for that. Little baseball for you. The Phillies release former All-Star right-handed pitcher Taijuan Walker. He's in the last year of a 4-year, $72 million deal. So they still owe him $18 million. He just has had some difficulty with his pitches, and the Phils, all kinds of problems. This is only one of them, and he will no longer be a part of the team. Phillies losing Thursday night, by the way, to the Cubs, 8-7 in 10 innings. Cubs go into the weekend having won 9 in a row as they head out west to take on the 2-time World Series champion Dodgers. Meanwhile, the Yankees have won 6 straight in the American League. They beat Boston Thursday night 4-2. They begin a weekend series at Houston. Okay, Rachel Lenzi talking Buffalo Sabres is up next.
Paramedic, firefighter, police officer. Different job titles, one common goal: to keep communities safe. They all risk their lives every day responding to emergencies. Just because they accept their jobs can be hazardous doesn't mean they have to be. Is your workplace safe for everyone? Learn more about the Put Yourself in Our Boots campaign at ourboots.ca. This message brought to you by the John Petropoulos Memorial Fund.
You're locked in to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Hey, glad you're with us here on this Friday, April 24th. Producer Tony is with our next guest.
Well, Larry, yes, the first round of the NHL playoffs continue, and it's just getting really exciting. There's just something special about NHL playoffs. Basketball playoffs are great. Baseball playoffs are interesting. Obviously, football playoffs are unique, but the NHL playoffs are just a different breed altogether. It's 7 games, 4 rounds. You're trying to get to Lord Stanley's Cup. And one of the teams that has been absent from these playoffs for a long time is the Buffalo Sabres, but they're back, and they're back with a passion right now. We're joined right now by Rachel Lenzi. She is the Buffalo News Buffalo Sabres beat reporter. And Rachel, last night was a big game for the Buffalo Sabres up in Boston.
Oh, it was. It was. I'm not saying game 3 is a pivotal game. We're very quick to label it as such, but the Sabres wanted to take some kind of momentum into the remainder of the series, going into what could be the halfway mark if this is a 7-game series. They did it. They got a spectacular goaltending performance from Alex Lyon, making his first NHL playoff start in nearly 3 years. The last time he started in the playoffs was for the Panthers in 2023, part of that run to the Stanley Cup Finals. He's coming off an injury, lower body injury, sustained about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago at Madison Square Garden during a morning skate of all things. And we also saw the exhibit of what the Sabres really believe in. This is a team that will not settle for being down or losing a lead or doing this. They came back with a vengeance. One of the big pivotal plays, and we don't talk about a pivotal game just yet, but a pivotal play in this was Alex Lyon defending against Victor Arvidsson's penalty shot, forced him to shoot wide. A couple minutes later, Bowen Byram comes back and ties the game. The team goes into the third period, gets the goal from Alex Tuch, and kills off a pair of major penalties. And when I say major, I mean these are significant penalties to Rasmus Dahlin and Tage Thompson, 2 of their best players inside the 9-minute mark. And they were very, very constructive and very tactical in how they killed off those 2 penalties and held off Boston's man advantage.
Yeah, it was a really interesting game. And, I think what really struck me was how calm Alex Lyon looked in the net. You can sometimes tell a goaltender hasn't started in a while and got a little bit of happy feet. They're moving a little bit too much, but he was just steady all night long in the net. He never really looked like the Sabres or the Bruins had him shaken at all. He seemed calm and in control right from the opening.
Alex Lyon, 10-year professional hockey veteran. He's a great story as well, from this tiny little town, the northernmost reaches of Minnesota, called Baudette, Lake of the Woods. He went to a 400-person school of K through 12 up in this northernmost region. And he was a guy who thought, I might play Division III hockey. Maybe that's what I'll do in college. But he is one of these guys. He has seen almost every situation you can think of in pro hockey, whether it's the American Hockey League, the ECHL, international competition, the NHL as well. And it was funny after the game. He said, I still get a little nervous. I get the butterflies before every game, whether it's an intra-squad scrimmage, game 5 of the regular season, and he kind of operates in that little goaltending world where it's like, okay, you get a little bit of anxiety. But to me, that also shows you care about your craft as well, too. But once he got settled in, and this is one of the reasons why the Sabres brought him in as a free agent signing this summer. He played in Detroit the last 2 years. He's a guy that if Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen hits a little bit of inconsistency, he can step right in and handle any situation. Now, for lack of a better term, I would say Alex Lyon is a goaltending jack of all trades. He can come in off the bench in a bad game. He can make that emergency start. He can pick up the load as well. And that's what the Sabres need. Someone who could handle the pressure, who's seen all kinds of situations, and can be that kind of versatile performer in goal.
Now, do you think the Buffalo will, Lindy Ruff's been around a while. He's a well-seasoned coach. Is he going to ride that hot hand? We hear about coaches all the time. If they don't have a number one, like if you don't have that solid number one, they go with whoever the hot goalie is at the time. Do you think Alex Lyon, they'll keep riding him for a little while in this series as long as he keeps that hot hand going?
I half the time I'm wrong on these predictions. Someone asked me yesterday, do you think UPL is going to start game 3? And I said, oh yeah, you got to go with the guy who helped get you here. But I do not dismiss the possibility of all that Alex Lyon could continue to be the goaltending. Yes, ride that hot hand until it's the NHL playoffs. You have to remember, if you want to go to the distance in the NHL playoffs, you're playing until mid-late June, almost up to the NHL draft toward the end of the month. it is about preservation. It is about taking care of yourself. It is about taking care of your team. It is riding the emotional and physical and psychological waves of this as well. And the Sabres are very fortunate. I have to laugh. Even John Cooper said this about a month and a half ago, the big 8-7 game beforehand. He said, wow, the Sabres have 3 goalies. They're very fortunate to be in that situation. John Cooper, of all people, saying that. Sabres also have Colton Ellis, who, another one, rookie, can step off the bench in a pinch. He came up with a big game toward the end of the season, a shutout, as well. So the Sabres are not in a bad situation at all. Lindy Ruff and his staff kind of look like geniuses for carrying 3 goalies.
Yeah, absolutely. And, looking at the series, it's been a hard-hitting series. It's been testy. That game 2 little melee that we had kind of set the stage for everything that was going on. After that melee happened and the Sabres were able to close that gap, they were down 4-0. They made it 4-2. How key were those 2 goals? I know they didn't get the win that night, but it seemed that gave them some serious momentum heading into game 3 in Boston.
It did, but I think having that sudden sense of urgency in the last 10 minutes of the game, the one thing the Sabres said after the game is we kind of find that consistency, that momentum, that energy throughout the course of the game. We can't play back on our heels and let the Bruins or any other team control the pace of play, whether it's setting it by physicality, whether it's by setting it by wanting to go into a track meet as some teams do. So we have to set the tone early and do this. Yeah, there was a little bit of that physicality early on in game 3 as well, too. But I know the Bruins, they kind of want to be the big bad Bruins in the 60s and 70s, the Terry O'Reillys and Derek Sandersons and Bobby Orr of the world. It's a very different league 50-some years later. They wanted to set that tone with physicality. The Bruins wanted to bite. The Sabres had to bite back, but they also had to bite in a controlled way and play their game and not fall into what the Bruins were trying to bait them into.
Absolutely. When you get down to, where this series is kind of heading, obviously in the playoffs, stars have to shine. Tell us a little about Tage Thompson's performance, what you think about what he's done the 3 games. It seems like he's been really steady, if not spectacular so far for Buffalo.
He's been steady, and he's not just scoring goals, he's creating opportunities. He's playing a little bit of a better game defensively. It wasn't a great penalty he took late in the game. It was a tripping call with about 5 minutes left that put the Sabres on the power play. But the penalty killer stepped up. Ryan McLeod took a couple big face-offs as well. They got a couple blocked shots in those key times as well. But the other thing, one of the things, and I talked about this before with someone else, about how teams are going to try to shut down the top 2 lines, the opposing teams. Are they going to try to shut down the Peyton Krebs, Tage Thompson, Alex Tuch line? They're going to try to contain the Jason Zucker, Ryan McLeod, Jack Quinn line. This is when you need your 3rd and 4th lines to step up. We saw that last night, the 3rd line. Noah Ostlund playing his first NHL playoff game, a rookie from Sweden. He had missed the last 10 regular season games, the first 2 playoffs games, with an upper body injury. He threaded a beautiful pass from behind the goal to Bowen Byram to set up the tying goal, made it 1-1 in the second period. And at the end, he out-hustled the Bruins to get an empty net goal as well, too. So that's kind of an example of what you need is, for those 3rd and 4th line guys to really dig deep and pick up, for lack of a better term, the slack when those top line guys are shut down. When guys like Tage Thompson maybe can't get the right handle on, when maybe Rasmus Dahlin, might be dealing with something and not being able to play as crisp as he wants to as well.
Noticed one thing after game 1, and this was just me watching videos online, but the reaction of the fans in Buffalo to that game 1 win was just crazy. You would have thought if you had lived in a bubble for the last 4 weeks and you just turned on that video and said, "Oh, the hockey season came to an end last night. The Sabres won the Stanley Cup." If you just saw the reaction of that first game, how much, we talked about this before the first time we had one, but how much does this city really need at least a first round win from the Sabres, if not a deep run in these playoffs, just emotionally?
The cities, the region, this Buffalo Sabres fan base has been waiting 15 years for this as well. And you saw 15 years of so closes and what ifs, and we missed the playoffs by a point in 2023. And oh no, not another high first round draft pick as well. the city wasn't relegated to lovable losers, but it was one of these, another year, another Sabres. So I'm waiting for it to pop. And, I kind of laughed. I said to someone, if the world was the World Wide Web right now, the Buffalo Sabres and their fan base probably would have broken the internet after that game one as well. I mean, we walked through the corridor, right by the corridor at KeyBank Center to get to the post-game scrums in the locker room. And I think I put up a video on my Instagram account, Lenzi reporter, by the way, of people just screaming and hooping and hollering in the main lobby of KeyBank Center. It was the loudest I had ever heard that lobby. And I was there for March Madness earlier this year. I've been there for rock concerts as well, too. I've been there for comedy shows. It was kind of like, wow, this fan base. I mean, I got chills hearing it. I was like, whoa, this is legit. And let's be real. Buffalo is an NHL town. It always has been, even in those, low years for the Sabres of the last 15 years, as years where they were playing for lottery picks in Stanley Cup Playoffs. This is one of the most passionate hockey markets I have ever been in. And I worked in Detroit. I covered Hockey East, which has its own little thing. I grew up watching Patrick Division games as well, where you just saw just the rough and tumble Philadelphia Flyers, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the scrappy New Jersey Devils. But Buffalo is proving, again, it is a legitimate, hardcore, dyed-in-the-wool hockey market.
Absolutely. So coming now into up next will be Game 4 of the series, still in Boston. What do you want to see the Sabres do in that game, too? Because obviously taking a 3-1 lead, not many teams end up losing those series. But what do they need to just to take that series and make it their own in that Game 4?
Continue stable goaltending. Again, got to get contributions from those third and fourth lines, especially if the top lines are shut down. But again, Alex Tuck, right wing on the top line, came through with that key goal that made it 2-1 as well. Can't play into the Bruins' hands as far as their physicality and push aroundedness goes. That was another thing about Game 2. The Sabres sort of took the bait a little bit when the Bruins tried to push them around. And you can't do that. I think what they're going to have to do is think back to how they responded against Tampa Bay in that 8-7 win March 8th. They didn't react to what Tampa Bay did. They responded, but they also have to come out with a sense of urgency, create their own momentum early, as opposed to kind of taking this first few minutes to get the feel for the game. They have to take control of this early. They've got to flip the switch early. They have to set the tempo of Game 4.
Yeah, I think that's always key. You want to come out, you want to put the other team on their heels. You don't want to be the team playing off your heels. You want to be able to be aggressive and take the play to them early on, because you can't really lose a game in the first period. You can't win the game in the first period, but you could lose it if you don't get out of the box in a sharp, crisp way. Does that make sense?
Right. Oh yeah.
And I think the Sabres can do that moving forward in this series. They showed me last night a little more aggression off the beginning, a little more oomph off the top, which I think was key into keeping that momentum flowing. They lost Game 2, but I really like the way they finished. Like I said earlier, I love the way they finished Game 2. They were hustling, they were going after people, they were still hitting. And, they have been the more aggressive team as far as hits in this series.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing as well. They've had 3 games to figure out what is the tone of this series. There's no more hesitation. They got to go out and play their game. They now know what works against the Bruins. And that is what they have to start out by doing and executing quickly. Again, as opposed to, well, let's see what's going on in this game. There's no more room for that right now. You're going into Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Playoffs.
Absolutely. Rachel Lenzi, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Rachel is the Buffalo Sabres beat writer for Buffalo News. Check her out online, especially if you're a Sabres fan. These are really heady times right now for Sabres fans. It's been a long time coming. Enjoy the ride as long as it lasts, right?
Yes, absolutely.
We're going to take a quick time out. We'll be right back on the Sports IQ after this.
Listen, were you forced into getting a solar contract and now you just don't want it anymore? Maybe the solar company misled you. Or is your solar contract buried with hidden fees? Are you not saving the amount of money you thought you would on your energy costs? Don't worry. At the Solar Exit Hotline, we can help you cancel your solar contract, even if the panels are already installed. Our experienced legal team will review your contract and help you cancel it, possibly saving you thousands of dollars. You got to call right right now for complete details. So listen, if you're not happy with your solar contract for any reason, we are here to help you cancel it. Call the Solar Exit Hotline now for immediate options to help you exit your solar contract. This call is 100% free.
Call 855-227-0286. That's 855-227-0286. Call us right now.
Let's talk more NFL draft from front end producer Tony, all over it. Tony, I want to start with the two colleges that really stand out, and that's Notre Dame and Ohio State, and those programs really putting their stamp all over this first round Thursday night.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Jadarian Price go. I really had Jadarian going middle of the second to late in the second round. I understand the Seahawks needing that running back badly. They let Walker go at the end of last season, so they needed something to take his place. Couldn't have got a better player. I love Jadarian Price as a person. He's a great kid. He can return kicks. He can return punts. He can score for you in so many ways. So I thought that was an excellent pickup. And Jeremiah Love, I know some of the pundits out there were going, oh, well, why take a running back? You're the Cardinals. You need so much. Why not take somebody you think is going to be an all-star for the next 5 to 7 or 8 years, however long a running back's career lasts? And Jeremiah Love is a game breaker. He gives you something you don't currently have, because if he gets a seam and he gets past the first level of defense, he's gone. Period. End of story. And he's got that extra gear. He's a tough kid. He's a really good kid. And Ohio State, man, there are Buckeyes all up and down that first round. Love the Sonny Styles pick. I think he may be the best pick of this entire draft. I just think the kid he's been born to play football. He lives, eats, sleeps football. He's got an incredible football IQ, and he's got all the intangibles. So that was an awesome pick.
We talked earlier with Aryton about the Giants in the first draft with John Harbaugh. Starting over with the Giants need to start over. They need to do anything. But interesting to see kind of, and as the draft even develops as well, what they will do in his first year as he has a chance to shape a team for the first time in a long time. I mean, he's been dealing with the veteran team and your existing players. This is new really for both sides, for both Harbaugh and the Giants.
Yeah, and I thought the Giants hit a home run. Look, they had decided Dexter Lawrence didn't fit for whatever reason. He wasn't going to be around. They decided to part ways, and they managed to get a top 10 pick. I know this isn't the deepest draft, but you covered up 2 spots of need for the Giants with 2 quality players. You picked an edge who can put pressure on the quarterback, and you picked an offensive lineman who can protect your quarterback. Both key areas. I know Jackson Dart was probably going, yes, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Keep me upright, a little longer in the pocket so that I can make some more of those throws that I know I can make. And I thought it was a really smart first round. I'm interested to see how they carry it out for the second and third rounds, because, again, the Giants they're not like a team that one player is going to put them over the top. They need a lot of things. And the more of those things you can check off, at least with starting pieces, the better. This is not an overwhelming draft as far as all pro talent, but it is a draft where you can address a lot of starting needs throughout the first 3 rounds.
Mm-hmm. We asked Aryton this earlier. I want to get your thoughts on this too, as I know you really follow this very closely. Ty Simpson at number 13 to the Rams. That felt high to me. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought that was a bit of a reach. I would have thought, and especially because a lot of teams were seemed open to trading down. If I were the Rams and I really wanted him, I think the Rams could have gotten him 7, 8, 10 picks later and maybe picked up some extra draft capital along the way. I just thought taking him at 13 was a little bit too high. I know they need a plan to replace Stafford. They know that this is probably going to be Matt Stafford's last year. And so they need a succession order in place. So I get it. I just think it was a little high. I don't think he was that pick number. To me, Ty Simpson was a 25 or lower pick number.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought the same thing. You can trade down and still get him at the same spot, but I guess they felt that there was some buzz there. Somebody else might take him. I guess I don't know. Maybe Cleveland trades up to get another quarterback. Who knows? I mean, they love quarterbacks in Cleveland, so who knows what could happen? Yeah, great stuff there. All right, appreciate that. Moment of Awe is up next.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices on airline tickets are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts with over 500 different airlines, plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. The only way to learn more is make a free call. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next trip. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next trip.
Time now for a moment of awe. And this was a unique one. It is about a world record that has stood since 1909, 127 years and counting. Olympian Harry Hillman, who won 3 gold medals in the 1904 Olympics, and his partner Lawson Robertson, himself an Olympian from Scotland, set a world record by running a 100-yard, 3-legged race. Yes, that same race you see kids do at family picnics in a time of 11 seconds. The pair of Hillman and Robertson would also team up at future Olympics. Robertson was USA track coach in 1924, 28, 32, and 36. Hillman, his associate coach in 1924, 28, and 32. So a 100-yard, 3-legged race in 11 seconds. Do not try this spring or summer at your church or family picnic. Insurance. Don't do that. Harry Hillman and Lawson Robertson and their 3-legged record get our moment of awe. I appreciate our guest stopping by today. Aryton Ostly talking NFL draft from Locked On Sports. Also, Rachel Lenzi from the Buffalo News talking about the Sabres as well. Appreciate you. Let's make this a great weekend. We'll talk to you Monday on the Sports IQ.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at Sports IQ LS. We'll see you next time.